OK, well, at least 6 people have been injured, including a member of the French border police, in a knife attack. The incident took place at Paris's Gare du Nord Central Railway Station, which serves as a hub for transport with trains to London and other parts of Northern Europe. Joining me now is Peter Allen, who's a Paris-based journalist who was at the scene all morning. Peter, thank you very much. Can you just talk us through exactly what's happened? Is it terror?
They don't know at the moment, Patrick, what normally happens over here. If there's any serious evidence for terror, anti-terrorism judges are involved. They're specialist grade of judges here because of the amount of terrorism there has been in France over the years. But I can tell you at the moment, they have not been instructed. And at the moment, it has been treated as a routine criminal inquiry. What I can tell you as a development is that a Libyan in his early 20s is the suspected attacker. At first, he told police that he was an Algerian. That wasn't true. He gave a false name. They eventually established who he was through his fingerprints, and they showed that he arrived in France 3 years ago, and he had an expulsion order served against him last year and shouldn't have been even in the country. But today he got hold of a sharpened chisel, what a horrific weapon, and went on the rampage in this massively busy station. So a lot of questions for the Interior Minister, Gerald Darmanin here, Patrick.
Yeah, sorry, Peter. I mean, I'm just going to ask you to repeat a couple of things there because there was a lot of detail there, and thank you very much for bringing that to us. So this chap was known to authorities, previous criminal convictions, supposed to have been expelled from the country, but managed to get hold of a sharpened chisel or sharpen it himself and then go on a rampage in a busy public station. Is that right?
Absolutely right. He was considered to be extremely dangerous, a danger to the public. He had been convicted of various acts of vandalism, but the fear was that he was going to extend his violence to human beings. That's exactly what he did this morning, despite this order against him a year ago. There's a lot of feeling over here that these orders aren't worth the paper they're written on. There was an expulsion order saying out of France immediately, but he just ignored it, carried on living in France, and was free to carry out this horrific act.
What's the mood like in Paris at the moment? I mean, it was only a couple of weeks ago, I think, I was reporting on shooting there in a particular section of Paris, not a million miles away from this, I believe, actually. In fact, I think you and I might have spoken over the phone. But, yeah, what's the mood like in Paris at the moment? Is it kind of a boiling point again?
I wouldn't say it's a boiling point. I would rather horrifically say that there's a kind of acceptance of what's going on. I mean, that's the really frightening part of it. I mean, I turned up at Gare du Nord about an hour after this morning's attack. Some platforms were open again. Commuters were going backwards and forwards. I mean, it really is incredible. These kind of attacks have been going on for many, many years now, since 2015. It was early 2015 when the first really bad stabbings took place. But as you quite rightly said there, Patrick, just a month ago, about a mile from Gare du Nord, in fact, probably half a mile, a man was arrested, a far-right nationalist, he's been described as, for shooting 3 Kurds dead in cold blood, very, very close to Gare du Nord. So these kind of horrific acts do seem to be happening quite a lot. And the French security state seems to be powerless to do anything about them. It floods the streets with army, with police, with their machine guns or whatever. But if one person...
Can I ask, you know, when the public learn that a particular individual who was supposed to be expelled from the country, previous criminal record, you could argue maybe shouldn't have necessarily been allowed in the first place, has gone on a rampage in a public area with a knife, 6 people hurt. So, I mean, there's just a reluctant acceptance of this in France, is there? In Paris?
No, I wouldn't like to frame it like that. What I would like to say is that there are plenty of people who are shocked and terrified by what's going on. I was just making the point that because it has gone on so long, there's nothing like the the feeling amongst the whole of Paris, people in Paris, that the world is crumbling. And I mean, that certainly was the feeling for those of us who lived through November the 11th, 2015, when 130 people were blown up or mown down by machine gunners in a single night. There's absolutely no doubt about that whatsoever. And I don't want to sort of say that what's happening now isn't appalling. Of course it's appalling.
Yeah.
But bearing in mind that the capital city, horrific things happen, and this is unacceptable, obviously, and terrible. But I was just being honest and saying there isn't this kind of feeling
absolutely.
that...
No, it's really, and I ask you the question honestly as well, because it's interesting to get the mood on the ground. And as you've rightly said, Paris has been through the ringer in recent years with a variety of absolutely horrific incidents. And I can understand, I think in a way it makes it more shocking, doesn't it? But I can understand how people don't let it wash over them, but certainly it's more commonplace. It's more commonplace than I think any one of us would like, of course. Peter, thank you very much.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you, Peter. Great stuff. I really appreciate you coming on for us.